in a week. Yeah, I saw that. It's actually 1 minute late. You said a minute, and it's exactly a minute. Yeah, exactly. I'm impressed. But we'll give you a minute to get your computer set up. Traffic does that.
Only on the days I have meetings. Every other day is.
It's a given. When you're early, every traffic light is green.
Yeah.
There's hardly any traffic. When you run just a hair late, every traffic light is red and traffic is heavy.
Thank you.
The world just works to do that. Okay. This is a joint Building and Housing and Service and Utilities Committee. Present are the committee chairs, Sherry Sachs, Councilwoman Sachs, who is the chair of Service and Utilities, Councilwoman Weiser, who's the chair of Building and Housing. Members on the committee, outside of the two of us, are also Councilman John Rock, also Councilman Brian King is with us, and Vice Mayor Michelle Weiss. The Law Director, Brad Bryan, is present, the Service Director, Alan Pennington, the Building and Housing Community Development Director, the Housing and Community Development Director, Markel Davis, is here, and the Chief Building Officer, Bill Bartley, is also here. We're going to start. What we had done at the last meeting was pretty well finish trees. And then we just got started with a brief discussion on weeds. The changes that we requested in the tree ordinance, Law Director Brian took the time and he gave us the draft of that ordinance with all of the changes in it. So we'll start with that to go back through that one more time and see if there's anything else that needs clarification. The one major change that he put in here, which he also sent an email around explaining, was to add in one of the sections, not only the service director, but the chief building officer, the housing and community development director, because all three of them would potentially be involved with citations or writing out a violation when we get to the hazardous trees. So when we get there, we can go through it. All right, 1072.01. Does anyone have any further questions or items that they may have noted on this revised copy they want to bring to our attention? Okay. 1072.02 were the definitions. Are these, as we now have them revised, good to go? Everybody's pretty good.
Under pesticide, on the tree lawns?
Um, yeah, under pesticides, there was a ending sentence which reads, this definition includes any fertilizer mixture that contains pesticides. And I wondered I know a lot of people use, what is it, weed and feed on their lawns and on their tree lawns if it's grass. Would they be in violation of this? Is that something that would cause a
This is just the
violation?
definition, and I thought we really didn't, we're prohibiting it on public property is really the only.
But the
thing
tree
to-
lawn is public property.
True.
I don't mean to split a hair here, Brad, but
Right, well, people don't necessarily differentiate when they're treating their lawn, it's front, back, to curb, to
Yeah.
fence.
Right, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but right, I think the intent was to not have the city use it when it's applying it on its property, but and not restrict
I just-
residents, but
I've
I don't know.
I've seen people complain about the use of stuff like weed and feed because they complain the granules get in their yard. It, yeah.
Looking to see.
Well, if you're a strict environmentalist, it's something that people complain about. And I would hate for somebody to call the city and say, hey, they.
So let's look at 107212. So it says pesticides used on public property. You can't use it except for B and C. The director can do it under C. And it's more animal related chemicals in B. So I think
Yeah.
it probably would be prohibited under the way it's written.
So we just sort of hope that nobody complains. I'm not
You may hear
I'm not
about,
trying to split a hair here. I just am concerned that if a complaint comes in, how do we end up handling that?
full disclosure, we use it, whatever we use on the whole yard, whatever that is. And so there will be public hearing, you may hear public comment. And the point is to to have this be practical as well. So if somebody's going to be mowing their lawn or using some treatment, whatever it is on private property of their, like I said, curb to fence, back fence, probably should be uniform.
Okay.
So
I just-
so right, you either leave it or you add an exception for people taking care of their own tree lawns.
Yeah.
Or do you specify for city municipal property or something like that? Is there a way to define what your intention was? Not necessarily the tree lawn.
I didn't mean for it to become a major issue. I just needed to ask the question. I doubt if we'd get a lot of people that would do it. There may be somebody, but as you noted, we're having a public hearing on this, and if they're aware of it and read the thing and they want to use weed and feed, they just need to know that maybe they can't, and somebody might complain. In some of the stuff you can't tell, because some stuff is used, they water lawns, but it's a mixture. I recognize that this particular ordinance by definition is a bit, was written restrictively. And that means we can run into some issues. So maybe put that off for the public hearing. Okay. Anything else in definitions? 1072.03, authority and responsibility. Was the B section wasn't added. That was in originally, right, Brad? With coordination among the city departments.
Yes,
Okay, that
I
was
just,
there.
the titles are underlined,
Okay,
so. But that doesn't mean, it wasn't changed.
okay. That particular section is headed authority and responsibility. It just defines who is responsible and under whose authority this particular ordinance or the trees, the supervision of trees, hedges, shrubbery, and other vegetation.
I
04,
had a question,
you did,
Yeah.
go.
and this straddles 03 and 04. So a question for the law director. In A, where it says, in performing these duties, the director may consult with and avail himself of the expertise of the city arborist or certified arborist. And then with regard to 107, 2.04, the director in consultation with. So is it may or shall? You know, one is, up to that person's discretion. The other one is more, directive.
Right, I think in 04 we're talking about adopting the criteria for species selection and planning specifications. So I think we want the director to consult with an arborist to do that. In 0.03, it's, he kind of has the discretion when he wants to use the arborist or not on a day-to-day kind of stuff. So that's, I think.
Except for when he is selecting trees or
Right,
whatever.
right,
Okay, thank you
right.
for clarifying that.
Coming up with that specific criteria.
Okay. And we sort of covered 0.04 then. We had added there in consultation with the city arborist or a certified arborist to make sure there's an arborist that's we don't assume service directors are arborists or have the knowledge that they're able to pick trees. 1072.05, which was the tree commission, we made a number of changes in this. Basically putting the service director and the city arborist or the person who's appointed as that, as the ex officio members of the commission. And we staggered, thank you, Brad, how people are going to run after the first appointment so that we end up with staggered terms. In other words, the first appointments then become staggered. One commissioner gets appointed for a 1-year term, one for 2, one for a 3, one for a 4, and one for the full 5. So that they're all not going on and off at the same time as time goes on. And then after their first term expires, then the succeeding appointment would be for 5 years. So that gets it straightened out that way. All right. Let's see. Chair or vice chair shall. Oh, in C, Brad, and it's just somebody who spent time grading papers. The commission, it's the second sentence, the chair or vice chair in the absence of the chair shall presides, plural. Shouldn't it be shall preside? Singular?
Well, it's, or, isn't it, or the chair or vice chair?
Yeah,
So it should be singular, right?
yeah.
I think the S is crossed out. If you can see, there's a,
Okay,
Oh,
I missed
Is that
that.
what that is?
I thought
Ah.
it was still there. Okay, thank you. We added the secretary and we said if it's not a member of the commission, it could be a form performed by a member of the city clerk of council's office. We're sort of adding to the duties for the clerk of council's office, and we need to be aware of that as well. in D, we said the commission has to meet each calendar quarter on a regular week and day and post it. I have a question there. Do we need to specify the minutes should be posted as well? Since this is a public, it's a public commission.
They would be, if we're required to take minutes, and I think
We have them taking minutes.
right, and they will be, I don't think we need to put it in the order.
Okay.
It's something we're gonna do.
Okay. And then the duties. We made some changes to the duties. Number of changes to the duties. But I think it strengthened what they were supposed to do in terms of their abilities to do it. Anybody have any additional comments, questions about where 1072.05 ended up?
I do.
Sherry,
Small one.
Councilwoman Sachs?
Thank you. So in item 6, which was previously 9, it says submit periodic reports of the commission's activities. What does this group think about periodic reports at least annually? Like at least one report annually? If they're meeting quarterly, you should probably have one annual report. We don't have to say which meeting. It's
That makes sense.
So at least once per year?
Mhm.
At least, yeah, at least once per year. Because the way it is, it just says periodic and somebody could decide every 2 years is periodic. And the committee, you're good with that?
Good.
Good, okay.
I have a question.
Mhm.
In the new number 8, which was formerly 12. So provide recommendations for the location and identification of heritage trees. Provide recommendations to whom? And what
Uh,
does that mean?
I think, if I remember correctly, council's the one that decides.
Heritage trees, yeah.
And that's already stated, or does it have? to
Well, it
be-
is.
This used to be, the tree commission was supposed to do that, and we didn't want the tree commission to be taking those out. We want it to be a recommending body, so let's look at the heritage tree sections.
There's a s-
Designation. City council may by resolution designate a heritage tree, so they're making the tree commission may make recommendations to city council regarding such designation.
So it would be redundant to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're
Okay.
covered, right? But they are making that recommendation to council.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Council.
Anything else on
I
this?
mean, if you
section?
want me to add it to city council at the end, just to make sure. So,
If
It doesn't
if it's
hurt.
appropriate, whatever I defer to
sure,
you.
let's add it.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments, suggestions on that? All right, 1072.06 prohibited activities. Anybody have anything on that section? We didn't make a lot of changes in this.
You mentioned something to me about.
Yeah, I
vault.
know. I'll
Oh,
get to
okay.
it. Anybody else? No? I just have a question. D lists how for public property, you have to have 9 square feet of open ground and its size of tree in every 2 inches of increase in diameter, an increase of at least 1 square foot of open ground. Will the trees at the wall meet this requirement? It's just a curiosity. I mean, I'm assuming we would grandfather them in, but
I believe most of the trees we have over there are spaced more than 9 feet apart, even 18 feet apart. A good portion of those are. I would have to go out and measure them physically to see, but right now.
I mean, I wouldn't recommend
Yeah.
taking them out.
Right, right.
I assume we could grandfather them in. Couldn't
Yeah,
we,
and
Brad?
everything, we're not chopping down trees.
Yeah, but
Why?
I
This is for
wonder what the
Future
change,
plannings.
I wonder what the impact of that, should a tree die and we have to take it out, you know, in terms of spacing of the trees in the walk then. Cause we're dealing with a set amount of actual area that we use for a number of activities that have put the trees in certain places where they might end up actually being closer than what this ordinance says. And I just think we need to be aware of it. See what happens when you read it for one more time? Oh, pass that over. They're sharing copy. There you go, Alan.
Sorry, I left my copy.
It's okay.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
have an extra 1072.06. I think it. I'm not sure what page it's on that.
6.
Well, he's got a
Oh,
half by
uh-huh.
11.
Yeah, that was
It's what?
squished up.
Page 6? Page
That's your
6.
bifocal.
Yeah. It talks about without obtaining written permission from the director. So there is some, that's about the stone.
Right. Discretion.
There's some.
So in other words, you can give permission to yourself. Okay. As long as we got it covered, then this is what happens when you read it over for the 5th or the 6th time.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on 1072.06? Oh, okay. 1072.07. Protection of trees on construction and development sites. This is 1 acre of size or more. Let's see. There really was more just sort of grammatical changes, some cleaning up of some of the wordage. We did add, no, that's,
You have one comment.
pardon me?
I have one comment.
Sure.
I'm not sure if it applies to this section, but since it refers to the 1 acre. When we spoke at length about whether a construction project on a residential property would qualify or not, this came up about being 1 acre, it wouldn't.
Right.
But I did think of some examples where 1 acre would apply. For instance, like the Knez townhomes. I know it was multiple parcels, but it's being combined as a single parcel. It's over 1 acre. Had there been multiple trees on that site, which there wasn't, but had there been, and there was, I don't think any proposed, they would have fallen into this circumstance. Similarly to development work that would happen along Warrensville Center Road, as you combine those lots, it may be over 1 acre. I don't know. So I just feel if the intent of this committee is to exclude residential properties, why don't we just exclude residential properties?
It's a good.
Yeah.
If the intent was to deal with, and again, you know, this is the problem with sort of getting handed something and no, not being involved with the development of it at all. If the intent of this was to focus on parcels that were being developed for developmental purposes like the townhomes, then, but that's considered residential, isn't it?
Right.
That's
So
what I'm
I guess the question is, right, did we
Yeah.
not want it to apply to single family homes? Or
Because we
any
have people
residential?
that are doing demo. Vice Mayor?
I think the intent was not to fine them or criminalize it. I don't think the acre was necessarily,
Well, I think John,
it's
I
fine.
think Councilman Rock brings up a good
no,
point,
it's a
though.
very good point, but like you asked what the intent was, I don't think the
We,
intent was.
we
for
took
them
care of
to
that in the
specify.
next section, though.
Right.
Councilman King, you're on sustainability, aren't you? Aren't you?
No.
You're not? I thought you were.
I was 4 years ago,
Oh,
or
okay,
3.5 years ago.
okay. Um, huh?
I have a
Yeah.
comment.
Yes, please.
So when
Mr.
the,
Bartley,
yeah, in regards to something, residential site being commercial, not, so the Nez site is actually a commercial site. Because of it's over 3 family, anything over 3 family would be
Ah.
considered commercial.
that's true. Okay,
So I don't know that it's gonna incorporate into this, but it needs to be considered.
Similarly, then, if
Mr.
you look at Warrensville Center Road, some of those may be multi-family, depending on how they put together the apartments or however they do their.
well, that's, yeah, that gateway would be that way, but don't forget, we're coming through with zoning and that's multifamily, that's like mixed use, so.
And there was something in the code for the new proposed code about mixed use requiring a tree every 25 feet. So there was, restrictive pieces put into the new code. I think I'm more along the lines, if a tree is removed, maybe the tree's dying or something, it has to be removed. My whole thing was avoiding having to replace it with the caliper at 1/2, when that would be difficult to achieve depending on the age of the tree.
And that-
And under this section, I think you can pay instead of replacing. So I don't know if that's something we want or we don't want, okay, you're cutting down some trees, but you're paying into the fund for trees elsewhere to
The,
keep up the
the
canopy.
Councilman King. were you
I
ready
was just
to-
gonna say, I think the intent was to make it, at least give developers, a reason to consider leaving the trees in place rather than the default of, hey, we have a site, clear it, and we'll start over from scratch.
The problem with intent in ordinance, the minute we pass an ordinance, it becomes the law. That's not intent. And we can intend a lot, but we better be careful about what we put into the law. That's where the problem comes in with some of this stuff. And is there a way to exempt single-family homes?
Sure.
With the exception of single-family
Yeah.
homes? I think that would be the only thing where somebody is taking down a house and building a larger house, where they may have to remove a tree. Was the intent to apply to them?
I don't think we're gonna have 1 acre, single-family homes in University Heights, though.
Yeah, but is the intent, I'm being serious here, Councilman King. Do you think the intent was to imply to them? To a single family home where they're demolishing it
No.
and building a higher one? Then by exempting single family residential from this section, we in essence have taken that problem out of the question. And those people then do not have to go to BZA to get a special permit to be able to be exempt from this section. And it seems to me that the addition of a single family house or single family, exempting that, if they happen to have a lot that meets that 1 acre requirement, or might be a little larger, would be exempt from that because it's single family only. Is that
Sure.
not, it's not problematic for you? We still, okay. I'd make a
would go with her,
motion.
yeah.
Would you make a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I will second it. Those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. We took care of that. If you would add that,
Sure.
Mr. Brian, we'd appreciate it. That sort of cleans up that part of that. All right. Anything else in 107207?
I'd like to make another comment.
Sure.
It's in regard to the title, Chief Building Officer. Um, My title was Safe Building Official, not Officer. I don't know if that needs to be changed,
I
or is
I
that
think- I
is that a
think
city?
I think it's a generic description of the
Okay,
position. Like, it's up to everyone.
If it's generic, why don't we just leave it and say.
Not like I
say
object, I just
Phil-
wanted to
say
clarify
Phil
that.
Can call you anything they want to, we'll call you that, but I
Okay.
prefer to just say, Mr. Bartley.
That's fine with me
How
too.
about that?
I prefer that not being the ordinance though.
Yeah.
I would prefer the generic title in the ordinance.
Yeah, that would be generic. Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. All right, 1072.08 tree replacement requirements. This one had a lot of discussion. This was the one where, the trees removed from the property that's 1 acre in size or more had to be replaced with the half of the, caliper diameter. We added assessment of unpaid mitigation fees. The issue that was raised at one of the meetings by one of the, Micah Malaskis, who is one of the members of the Sustainability Committee, was what happens if people don't want to pay the fine? And our discussion was, is this going to go to a punitive fine? And what we decided to do was to take the unmade mitigation fines and allow them to be just applied on the property tax roll as an assessment. So the city still collects that fine, which was intended if the person didn't want to replace the tree, they were paying the fine. As he explained it, the fine then would be used to buy another tree that could be planted on public property to replace the tree that we lost. So it recoups the money, it puts it in for the intent and resolves the issue if it doesn't get paid. Any discussion regarding that? That was a very long discussion. I think we sort of, okay. Moving on, heritage trees, 1072.09. We made a change in B where council by resolution designates it and the tree commission makes recommendations regarding the designations. We did say private property, heritage trees, that's fine. Removal of designation has to come back to council. The protection, no person, firm, association without the prior approval of the city council, because the city council now is designating the tree. And the tree commission still makes requests about removing, trimming, or pruning any of those trees. The director gets to maintain the list of the designated heritage trees. The director handles the emergency removal of them and does a report to both the tree commission and city council. And here's where a part of the change, if the director, chief building officer, or housing director determines that it's a heritage tree is a hazardous tree and a failure to remove it, any one of them can order or permit the tree to be pruned, trimmed, or removed. And then report to the tree commission and city council. My understanding, this need to do this arose because there was legitimate concerns where I know I had contacted Ms. Davis about complaints that I got from residents about hazardous trees next door, and that the building inspector went out. But under this ordinance, the trees belong to the service director and sometimes the building official. So as I understand it, Mr. Bryan fixed it so any one of them can do the job. And we know they are good and will communicate between the three of them.
This is for private property. The service director still handles everything on
on public,
property.
yeah, but this is private property.
Right.
All right, good. Um, any issues with 0.09 then? Did we clean up all the little spots on that one? We're good. Okay. 1072.10 hedges and shrubbery. Basically, I don't think this was changed much from the existing ordinance we have. And, we made no changes in it, so
Looks like
I
there's an
assume,
or added,
pardon me,
or encroaches in the last sentence.
where's or encroaching, where?
But
B,
Or encroaches on, yeah. We put an or there. Come on, it was an or. All right, 11.11, tree services contractor license and registration. We don't have this at present. This was a whole new thing. And, we did some cleanup. The chief building officer, that's Mr. Bartley, because he does deal with, licenses and registration. Actually is the determinant if this person actually is qualified. And what has to be supplied. I just had a question. Why do we require a performance bond? That's all. That's the only, is it just to make sure they actually cut the tree down?
It's a security, so.
Okay, so if they prepay for the service and the guy doesn't do it, the bond then allows the money to go to them for the next guy they hire. Is that sort of the deal?
right, in theory,
Okay.
right. It takes a while to get there. They'll put
Of
pressure.
course.
But yes,
All right. We did add, and I was grateful for it, that the CBO can require the person or contractor to notify the neighbors that are affected by the closure in advance of the timing and nature of the work to be performed. So somebody coming home isn't surprised they don't have access to their property. They know what's going on. On some of these, they actually, because these trucks are so big, if it's a very large tree, they end up blocking the whole road while they're taking it down, so. And it's sort of nice to know you're not gonna be able to get out of your drive or in your drive. So, any concerns, additions to that? All right, 1072.12, pesticides used on public property. We eliminated the statement about aerial spraying or roadside spraying. I forget what, I know we talked about it at length. So there was a good reason for doing it, which I can't remember right now.
yeah, we
Anybody?
didn't want to tell the county what
Yeah,
to do.
because the county probably would do that. And, the larvicides would be for mosquitoes. And this summer is bad. So who knows, the county may come through or determine, especially if there's a spike in West Nile virus. That's when they'll spray. All right. So we're good on 12? Wonderful. 1072.13 hazardous trees, hedges, shrubbery, or other vegetation on private property. This is the one where we have issues with trees on private property that are dead and people don't want to take them down and they're headed towards somebody's house and or garage or could end up harming somebody. There were cleanups in terms of things like who has allowed to do it, where we added in director, CBO, or housing director. So any one of the three, because that way, if it's an obvious, and I'm sure if it's an obvious dead tree, that if a housing inspector is out there, they would tag it. If it's something that there's a question, I'm sure, Markel, you would have the inspector talk to Mr. Pennington.
Yes.
Wonderful. That, I love it when they work together. Notice of the hazard, how they're giving the notice. And the time completion for abatement. Inform the owner and then delivery, how we would deliver it, failure to abate after notice, collection of abatement costs, all of that is there. There was one thing, and I thought I mentioned this, Mr. Bryan. You added F assessing ordinances to this. I had indicated initially that section I wanted to put into the development thing, but not in this section, because this is a hazardous tree that can harm somebody. And I'd imagine we would prefer to have a penalty that would be a misdemeanor. I think we said we wanted it taken out of that section.
Well, we can charge with the misdemeanor. This was in here, so I didn't take it out and it gives just a different, another option. If we somehow can't get paid through the court for the costs, it gives us an option. We can do both. I mean, charge them. It just makes sure that we're not stuck with the bill. And gives you an extra tool in the toolbox.
My understanding was if we put this in the other section, that those people would not be taken to court.
Right, that's the only option, right, in that section.
In this section, though, does this eliminate the possibility of
No.
taking them to court?
No.
Because what allows for that?
It's in the penalties.
I mean, we say they can't.
Yeah, I think maybe we want to clarify that we also have the option. It's in the penalty section for whoever
but-
violates any provision of the chapter. You can do a criminal penalty, but I can add something in to make.
Okay, could you, because my only concern with this one is if it's a hazardous tree, it has the ability to fall and damage other people's property, could end up harming them. Whereas when we're removing a tree on a private property that isn't hazardous, it's not a safety issue, it's a choice. And there's a difference between a choice and a safety issue. So,
Yeah, the intent was to leave all options on the table.
the other one, we wanted to get rid of the options.
Right,
Okay,
so I'll make sure that's.
if you could, I would greatly appreciate it. Anybody else for this section? We're okay with what yes, Mark, Ms. Davis.
For 1072-13, where 1 through 5 speaks about the notices. Is this an official notice in addition to the complaint inspection notices that would go out? Because someone called in to complain and then,
Yes,
yes, in addition to?
yes.
Okay, so at what
It's
point?
like a next step. So,
Okay,
yeah, let me just look.
Page 8. Notice of hazard is C,
Okay,
13C.
I believe this is
no,
the
no,
final.
it's not. It's, if we give a notice that complies with this, we don't have to give them another one.
okay.
Okay, you're good?
Yes.
Both of you.
That's both. If it doesn't have all this thing in there, we would send another notice and, I think we've talked about, with one notice, unless there's some sort of emergency that, it needs to be done right away, normally we're gonna give, before we're gonna go on somebody's property. Give them another notice and say, hey, you need to take care of this, because our preference is for them to handle it and not.
So the one notice needs to be all inclusive with
Right,
everything
right.
in that section.
Right.
Otherwise it's duplicate.
And have to keep sending things. Okay.
Yeah, we recently sent one to a resident that I think they have until August 9th to do. If not, then we will have a contractor do the tree. We've got another one we're gonna be sending a notice out to here shortly. Then give them a 30-day window to do.
Yeah, we seem
Similarly.
to have had a bumper crop of complaints about dead trees.
So.
Well, I think it was because the housing department issued the notices, but then
Right.
that's when it was discovered
Right.
that I don't have the authority to remove the tree.
Yeah, no, I
With the-
realize
yeah.
that. And I'm glad we got that clarified between, and it makes it easier on housing, makes it easier on service. And we don't pick on Bill for that one. All right. Everybody's good with 13 and Brad doing the tweak that would take care of that? That it's clearer? Councilman Rock, you're not okay or?
No,
you-
I'm good.
You're good, okay. 1072.14 is appeals. How anybody can appeal anything in the section that they're required to do. That goes to the Board of BZA. And if they don't like what BZA says, they've got to take it to the Common Pleas Court. Which makes them all very happy, but, okay. Anything on 14? We're good on 14? Okay. 15, exceptions. We did not really touch this. This is in case of emergency. We don't necessarily have to follow the requirements of the chapter because we might have to take a tree down in an emergency. It could be a heritage tree, whatever. And that clears the deck for things to be done. 1072.99 penalty clause. Here we go. I think we did is subject to a fine. It basically this is from the previous ordinance. And shouldn't this be 16 or do we
Now, penalty sections are always 99.
99? Thank you. I learn something new every day. So anybody have any issues with this? Good. All right. The tree ordinance is done with that minor, I think you have two small changes, right?
Yes.
Wonderful.
And
Um,
just to clarify, this will look a little different. I mean, I know we're planning to have a public hearing, but when it eventually gets to council, it'll look a little different because the changes right now are shown not from the existing ordinance, but from what the committee and the mayor brought to council.
Oh, so it's a change on the old 1072 then.
It's a change on what the commission did and the mayor
Okay.
presented to council. So when it eventually gets to council, the easiest way to do it, since there's so many changes from what we have now, is to just repeal what we have in the books now, replace it with this. So everything will be underlined, whatever we get there. The present section will be crossed out and some of the ordinance, not the code section, will be, the wording will have to be changed. It's
Okay.
repealed and replaced. So.
Sounds good. Thank you. We had talked about the public hearing, but since we have weeds, we probably should do trees and weeds in one public hearing for both. So when we get through weeds, then we can schedule the public hearing for both of those. So that'll take it till there. We have 10 minutes to at least look at weeds. Yay, again. There was an email that came in. Mrs. Sachs, do you want to read that email?
Sure.
And that way we will have it into the record.
This is an email for public comment sent to council today at 5:17 PM from Emma Shook at 2479 Eaton Road. Hello, Mayor and Council. I am unable to attend the meeting tonight, but wanted to convey my thoughts on weeds and trees and shrubs as they pertain to private property. In order to enhance the health of our residents, insects, birds, and other ecosystem dwellers, native plants should be encouraged. Tree lawns should be allowed herbaceous perennials up to 3 feet in height as long as they are 3 feet from driveways. And then in parentheses, they are much less dense as a group than shrubs for visibility. A list of harmful non-native invasive shrubs, trees, and perennials, ones that naturalize in our parks and woods, should be listed along with native replacement options for all residents on the website and featured in the newsletters and mosaic. More native plants and less lawn means more butterflies, bees, beetles, beneficial arachnids, and insects. I think that's spiders. More migratory and non-migratory birds, cleaner air, cleaner water, less noise from lawn equipment. Thank you for reading my comments. Any questions, please contact me.
Thank you, Ms. Shook, for sending us the email. It's a part of the record, and as we go through it, I'm sure we'll keep it in mind. All right, we did, yes,
Since you read
Mr. King.
the comment from Mrs. Shook, I'm
Sure.
not sure if we have any other comments from the audience or not. You would entertain.
We need the microphone. If you'll. That way, is anybody on Teams, Mr. King? Councilman?
Yes.
Okay, so we need to have that work so they can hear what he has to say. Sir,
John
would you
Vicarell.
start by giving us your name and your address, please?
John Vicarell, homeowner, 2571 Eaton.
Thank you.
I'm a volunteer with the Friends of the Walt. I also volunteer with the Friends of the Bradford Road Cinder Path. I have some issues with 1041. And I thought you were going to discuss that ordinance tonight. But,
With the, which ordinance?
pardon me,
Which ordinance, sir?
1084.
1084, okay, yeah. We're going to go back and talk about this until 7 when we have another, the Building and Housing Committee has to meet. But we will have another joint meeting that just will focus on the weed ordinance on,
Let me just check. I think it's August 14th, but let me
in
double
August.
check.
So,
Thursday, August 14th at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
and it'll be posted, so please come back then.
I'll
to-
reserve my
okay.
comments. And
Do you want to reserve them to then, or do you want to give us a quick?
I'll
summary?
just underscore what Emma had to say.
Okay,
The invasive plants need to be dealt with. Even at the Walt, we have buckthorn and we have thistle. That if the city is going to start eradicating invasive plants, that's a good place to address the issue. I'm personally trying to convert my lawn from turf grass to native pollinator friendly plantings. I have a couple of trees started, some shrubs started. And in the meantime, I was cited by the city last year and this year as well for having a messy looking property and for having weeds. So weeds needs to be more carefully defined, more clearly defined. And a property that is in transit, that's in the middle of changing from the one to the other is going to look messier than you would expect a normal property to look. And that needs to be taken into account. So thank you for your attention.
thank you very much for coming, and we look forward to you coming back next month. Any, let's see, we have 5 minutes, so I don't think we made a lot of changes. I think we were going through, if I remember right, the definitions. And perhaps you brought up a good issue that happens. And Ms. Davis, I don't know if you want to weigh in on that. How do we determine what is a weed? What is a weed? An inspector has to go out. They're looking at what they see. How do they know what is a weed?
I actually honestly don't think they do.
Okay. So we had a problem right there. And do we currently, let's say currently, has the department ever up to this point had to identify what an invasive plant is?
No.
Okay. So the passage of this also affects what occurs with your inspectors. Because unless we can come up with a way for somebody to be able to make those identifications, we're not going to be able to enforce this.
I guess I have another question. Do you know how many citations we give for I mean, if you take the tall grass out of it, just for weeds, how often people get cited? Is there a lot of them or just a handful or?
I wouldn't say it was a lot, but I know that they also are not citing what appears to be a pollinator garden. But I wouldn't say it's a lot. But I know in the past we had discussed, or someone had made the suggestion of downloading an app because there was really,
Right.
no way without a professional to determine if it's a weed or.
True. But our professor from John Carroll.
Yeah, that it's an issue that there is an app, but I'm not saying we can't. I'm just saying we have to find a way if we are to actually do this, to be able to have that differentiation happen. Because in essence, that's what we're requiring the department to do. And that has to be, to me, we have to consider how do we help make that a possibility? We're running right up to 7, so that's your question to answer for us for the next meeting. You have homework. Sound good?
I have a suggestion.
This always on the list.
So when you issue a violation for, let's say, weeds, if the owner or the person that got the violation feels we were not right, they can appeal that.
Correct.
And then they can explain that this is not weeds, this is my, my garden or whatever. And then that's the way you would typically
And then
try
we
to handle this.
we
Let
hope
them
that-
say you're wrong and then file the appeal.
Yeah, see, is it right or is it wrong comes
Right.
into play. All right, it is 6:58. I think we'll close it there, and that's where we're sort of gonna have to start. I don't know, Mr. King, do you know if other cities that have adopted this, how they're handling that part? Or am I gonna have
Yeah,
some
I'm
homework?
not
to
sure.
do
I
as well?
can look, we can both look. I know Shaker Heights was considering legislation along these lines. I'm not sure if they've moved to adopt
Yeah,
yet.
they may have run into the same
Um,
issues that we have. Yeah, I've got some time. I'll do a little bit of homework and take a look at other cities and their ordinances, and because we have to have a way to be able to actually do something with it. All right, I will formally bring the meeting to close and accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That meeting is over. Wow, Speedo. Now we go to another meeting.
Hi.
Let's go to
Nice to meet
meeting.
you. Yeah.
I saw Mr. Cooney sort of dropped in on, Zoom and then disappeared, so he may be coming back in at some point. Take 1 minute and then I will call the building and housing meeting to order. Ah,
I let Ms. Shook know that I read it into,
huh?
I let Ms. Shook know I read it into the public.
Thank you. Councilwoman Sash just told me she emailed Ms. Shook back.
And all of you.
Oh, you're